What's up, Melanated family? This is your boy Harrison bringing you a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. This is the first episode of the year. I am definitely happy to be back in the house. I hope everybody is having a happy new year. I hope everybody got their celebration on, did whatever they need to do to get their mind ready for the new year. Some people, created New Year's resolutions, which I'm not mad at. That's not something that I particularly do, but you know what I'm saying? That you using a resolution to get your weight correct, or to start a new business, or to stop doing some bullshit you've been doing all year, I'm with you. You feel me? I'm all for positive affirmations. So happy new year to the family. I want to welcome everybody to a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. If this is your first time tuning into the show, the Melanated Convo podcast is basically a show where we have interesting conversations with individuals from around the country, whether it be an entertainer, whether it be a writer, a teacher, just a regular father. We like to speak to passion-driven individuals who not only have their best interests in mind, but our community's best interest in mind as well. So we have really, really interesting conversations with individuals like that. Sometimes on the show, I don't have on a guest at all, and I just tackle some topic in particular, whether it's dealing with our kids, whether it's dealing with just our families, our relationships, you feel me, racism, different things that we go through in this country. Whatever it may be, I'll just come and talk about a specific topic on my own. Also on the show, my favorite part of the show actually, is we have a business spotlight where I talk about a few businesses, a few black businesses that I feel people in our country, people in our city need to know about. When it comes to economics in the black community, when it comes to the amount of money that we spend outside of our community, I think it's really important that we do our best to not only seek out black businesses, but support them and, let other people know about them as well. So we have a business spotlight segment on the show where I talk about different black businesses in the country, just to give them some shine, man. Also on the show, new segment that I added, we'll be talking about some news stories. So I'll look at, 2 or 3 different news stories from around the country pertaining to black society and how the situation may or may not affect us, and just kind of go over what's been going on in the news when it comes to my people. So that's pretty much what we do here on the podcast. So I want to welcome everybody for tuning in today, man. Like I said, I hope everybody is having a good new year so far. Getting relaxed. Some people who work jobs probably just getting back to work over the past few days. So I hope everybody is recharged and ready to go for this 2020. You feel me? Now, what I wanted to get into first. Oh, and keep in mind, today's topic, I'll basically be, so look, like I said, most of the time, when I just come to you by myself, we'll talk about family, we'll talk about relationships, but typically what I like to talk about most is our children, being a father of 5, a lot of different scenarios and situations that I've been through throughout my 22 years of being a father. So I like to break down some of these situations just to give parents insight on things I did right, things I did wrong, and kind of using those scenarios as fuel to help out the family, right? So today, we're going to dig deep into the necessity of college. Like, is every kid in our community meant to go to college? Should every kid go to college? Is there alternative routes that a kid can take? Now, keep it in mind, we understand that just graduating from high school and not doing anything with yourself, just graduating from high school and going right into the workforce, I don't really recommend that for any young person. So we have to figure it out. Are we going to spend, we're going to take out a hefty loan and send them to college? Are we going to do trade school, JUCO, different things like that? So that is what we'll explore today as far as our topic is concerned. Now, first thing we're going to get into is the businesses. First business I want to talk about, which is a sister I spoke about on the last podcast, Christmas Eve, I think it was, House of Duras. Now, House of Duras is spelled N-A-R-A-S. You can go to houseofduras.com. House of Duras is a clothing boutique brought to you by a sister named Shakira. I think she said it's a long I, so I think her name is Shakira Rule. She is a sister, a local sister here in Sacramento, but she has a clothing boutique online. And I think for women in our community, when I look at social media, when I look at a lot of the images our young women have to look at, sometimes, seeing chicks with their ass out, seeing chicks pretty much showing everything they got, that there's a time and place for that. But ultimately, I think if you want a man's respect, if you want to command respect, rather, you should try to dress appropriately and make sure you pick your spots when it comes to the clothing you like to wear. But the reason why I like this sister's clothing brand, because the dresses she has some jogger sets. It's real classy, real sexy, yet classy. And most women, I think, would appreciate some of the designs that she has. And like I said, man, we spend a lot of money outside of our community. So when we see people inside of the community creating quality products, because it's one thing just to support somebody because they're black, but you want to make sure the product you're supporting is quality as well. And at the House of Duras, she has a nice sale going on right now, so you can get a dress on sale. She has a velvet duster. I personally didn't know what a duster was before I went to her website. So it's like a long, not a scarf, but like a long jacket type get up, but it looks real good. You feel me? She is modeling a lot of her pieces on her website. So when I look at the dresses, when I look at the shirt she has, or the different shirts and dresses, it looks really good. You feel me? So I think women in our community would appreciate some of the clothing this sister has. Again, that's House of Naraz. Really sexy clothing, form-fitting clothing, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's a way to look sexy and look appealing to men without having all your shit out. You feel me? And on the site, she tries her best to set trends through unique and classic styles. So go to House of Naraz today. Check it out. She has some sales on the website. If you order items that are over $100, you'll get free shipping. So that's a good thing. Go to the website, everybody. Check her out. Now, for the next business that I wanted to speak about, this is a brother that I've had on my podcast. I've interviewed him on my website even before I had the podcast. One of my close associates, my brother Khalid White. Now, Khalid is a junior college professor, and he created a platform called blackempower.com. That is spelled BLKMPWR.com, blackempower.com. On his website, not only will you find this book, his award-winning book, Black Fatherhood, Trials, Tribulations, Testimony, and Triumph, which is a really, really great book that I've had the pleasure of reading. The book comes with a documentary. Khalid has been around the country doing book signings and showing the documentary. The documentary has won a couple awards up into this point. It really just tackles fatherhood from several different fathers' perspective, from different economic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds to a degree. So just a really, really riveting piece of work. The brother also has children's books. He has a book written in Spanish for our Spanish brothers and sisters. He has another children's book just for our black children, our melanated children. You feel me? So on the website, you can get his books. You can get his clothing. He has a Black Empower clothing, a lot of nice shirts with empowering messages on them. He wrote this is the guidebook called Teaching Men of Color in the Community College. So him and a couple of other professors got together and created this manual for black boys and girls black men, basically black boys who are in the junior college, community college system, right? So this is some good stuff, man. Khalid he's been at it for a while. So everybody support the brother, man. The kids' books, if you have small children, they'll love these books. His book that he's written, I think, for all of us who are fathers, who are black fathers, who have been through different things with the child support system, if you've been through different things with the mother of your children, it's just really relatable stories in the book that can be used as inspiration. You feel me? Because sometimes, you are going through all these different emotions as a man, and you're not, and it almost feels like you're going through it by yourself. But this book and the men he was able to talk to in the book just makes it really relatable for me, and it makes you understand that there's other dudes out there like you, and it, something that we can use as motivation to keep moving forward. So please go to blackempower.com. Again, that's BLKMPWR.com. Order one of the books from my boy Khalid White, who is a college professor, a really, really, really cool brother. So he has the fashion, he has the books, he has his documentary on there. Everybody go to the website and check him out. Now, we'll move on to the news stories for the day. A couple news stories that I picked out that were, extremely interesting to me that I think the family would want to talk about. So, the first news story, I'm sure most women at least are familiar with the show The Real. Not too sure what channel it comes on, but it's a daytime TV show. A black woman by the name of Loni Love is on that show. So, maybe a week ago, sometime recent on her show, they were speaking about the Kevin Hart incident, where Kevin Hart released a documentary on Netflix. I think it's called Don't Fuck This Up or something like that, but really riveting documentary, really good stuff. I think if you haven't watched that, that's something you should check out as well. But they were basically talking about the documentary. In the documentary, they covered the cheating scandal that Kevin was a part of, and what happened basically. It's on the show Loni Love, when they were mentioning that men cheat and how men cheat, they got into the fact that men of power seem to feel they can do what they want to do with women and are unfaithful. And I'm rocking with that to a degree. I think there is some sprinkles of truth in that. Some men with power seem to think they can do what they want to do in society. Okay, cool. So instead of just riding with that narrative, she directs it directly at black men and say basically, because she mentioned that, black men don't know how to be faithful or can't be faithful, mentioning Kevin Hart. Her co-host tried to shoot her some bail and say, well, no, men of all cultures who are powerful conduct themselves this way. Loni doubled down on the bullshit and was like, no, black men cheat and do what they do because of slavery. See, so she's coupling in, she's putting all this shit into one basket, saying that black men cheat because of slavery, because we've been disenfranchised, different things like that. And here's the thing, man. I think we need to get to a point in society where the black people that we have that are on the forefront, the black Americans that we have that are on these TV shows and out talking, they shouldn't really speak on shit if they don't know the real history of how we've gotten into some of these situations that we're in. Because, for one, men of power cheat. It just isn't a black thing. Men of power cheat. It almost seems like sometimes when you have a show or environment where there's a black man or a black woman and they have a show, but in the show there's other nationalities of people, it always seems like they have to step out and put us in our place, or step out and be the one to speak negatively about black society. And with Loni Love, I have nothing against interracial relationships, but Loni Love, because she has a white husband or a white boyfriend or whatever, all of a sudden now that she has a white boyfriend, it's almost like fuck black men. It's almost like that's why I'm over here with this white man, because you niggas ain't shit. You feel me? If you're gonna be on a nationally syndicated show and you're gonna talk about or dive in to our history and things we've been through, you got to go all the way in. You got to go all the way in. And I think what happens is, being on these nationally syndicated shows with these white power structures, basically, you can't get on these shows and just say whatever you want to say. Because if that's the case, you should, if you're going to take the opportunity to speak about the problems we have in our neighborhoods and the problems that black men have. Yeah, slavery fucked us up. It also put us in a situation where we have black folks on TV thinking they can talk down to other black folks. So we got this crabs in a barrel shit that it was also formulated from slavery that she's pretty much exhibiting now to me. You see what I'm saying? So I think if you're not well versed in our history, if you're not ready and willing to go all the way in and possibly offend some of your white bosses or the people around you, you really shouldn't speak on this kind of shit, man, because of course social media takes things and runs with it. And, you know, we have to factor that in sometimes. These headlines are every other day it's a headline with somebody saying something, you feel me? And I don't like to just jump into those things wholeheartedly, but sometimes when we as black folks say the wrong shit or we're out of line, other people in the community have to say something to her. You see what I'm saying? Because if someone else who was listening to that, who maybe is really fans of the show, and them themselves don't have any history about racism or history about what used to happen to us in slavery, not just the men, but the men and the women, the men and the women, they may actually believe some of this shit she's saying. You see what I'm saying? Because when you look at her actual words saying that us cheating has to do with the family being broken up, well, no, the family was disfigured by white society in the 60s when we got all these welfare programs and different things like that where the father couldn't be in the house, and this was a systematic effort to break up our family. You see what I'm saying? That has nothing to do now. Granted, all of the conditioning that we've been through definitely may have a effect on us now, black men and women, as far as how we relate to one another. I'm not gonna label it as that's why we cheat, but some of the dysfunction in our black relationships can be linked back to what's in our DNA and what has happened to us when we got here. You feel me? So you can't discount these things, but context matters. You feel me? So you have to contextually kind of talk about this shit instead of just throwing, just spewing whatever you want to spew. You feel me? Because that's when you have these issues and that's when you have all these conflicts. So I think in 2020, if you're a black celebrity and you're in the public eye, you have a responsibility to us, whether you know it or not. Now, if a black person does not want to address political issues, if they do not want to address, excuse me, y'all. Oh shit, burping. If they do not want to address the disenfranchisement of black people, if they do not want to stand up and speak about how we're treated in this country by police, by the prison system, all the different factions of society that we have to deal with, if they don't want to speak about that shit, fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Just be quiet. Just be quiet. You could be the kind of person that say, I don't want to publicly speak about issues, but behind the scenes, I'll fund the organization. Behind the scenes, I'll give money to people that can lift the black community up. That may be your thing. So when someone's quiet, I don't judge you. But the problem is we have too many Negroes speaking up and don't know what the fuck they talking about. We got too many Kanye Wests of the world, and unfortunately in black society we admire and we look up to the black entertainer. You feel me? To a lot of these kids, to a lot of people in our society, the black entertainers like God, like their word is more prevalent than some of the more revolutionary minded black people we have in our society. You know what I'm saying? So that's a power that being a celebrity, you have to kind of understand that. But again, if it's not in you to fight for black folks, don't do it. I don't want you to be fake. I don't think people should do what they don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? Be yourself. If that's not in you, don't do it. But you can't get on a soapbox and get to speaking down to us. And this is how this felt when the sister Loni Love, and I was, kind of upset about the situation, but I'm not going to disrespect her at all. But unfortunately, I think sometimes when we have black men and women who find themselves with white counterparts, all of a sudden they know the solutions to our problems. All of a sudden they know why we're dysfunctional. And Loni Love has spoken about being in relationships and being fucked over by men and being cheated on a lot and and that's understandable. But I think the elephant in the room when speaking about her, and this isn't a race thing, this is my opinion, and I don't give a fuck who don't like it. This isn't a race thing. If you're a bigger woman in society, if you're a woman who society deems isn't attractive, and we can't act like all of us to a degree is superficial. Society in general is superficial. That's why you don't see big women on fucking clothing advertisements or magazines. I mean, the idea of beauty in everybody's mind, based on how the Western world has conditioned us, is a slim white woman for the most part. You see what I'm saying? So a bigger woman, whether black, whether white, they typically, and of course I'm not speaking in absolutes, but they typically have a harder time in the dating scene, and they may have to endure situations where men is using them for shit and different. That's not a black thing per se. That's how men act. You feel me? And she's mentioned how she's been treated that way, and it's almost like this white man is her savior to a degree. You see what I'm saying? So look, I don't have no problem with people dating outside of their race, but don't come to us with that bullshit, man. When you finally found your white knight and your white savior, whatever the fuck you wanted to be for you. You feel me? So that was some bullshit she was on, and that's completely false. Now, next story that I want to touch on. This is the story this is for all my fathers out there. I want my fathers to think about this and think about what you would do in this situation. So we have a black man named Melvin Harris III, 41 years old. He is from Phoenix, Arizona. So what happens is his daughter, doesn't say the age of his daughter, but his daughter is inside of a Quick Trip convenience store. She's in the bathroom stall, and this is reported to him by his daughter and her friends. She's in a bathroom stall, and some man is attempting to break in the bathroom stall while she's in the bathroom. Now, at this point, I'm sure she don't know if he's gonna try to rape her, he's gonna try to hurt her in some way. There's no way to know, right? Well, this black man, her father, takes it upon himself to go up to the store, bypass security. He whooped this dude's ass, and ultimately the dude dies from brain swelling or something like that. But, you know, he's in jail now, and he mentioned that he did this shit to protect his daughter. Now, this happened like August 2018, but basically he was just sentenced a few days ago to 8 years in prison. He took a plea deal. Instead of getting second-degree murder charges, he took a plea deal for manslaughter. So he's only going to serve 8 years in jail. So how do you guys feel about that, family? Keeping in mind that we are in a time right now where we're being bombarded with news stories and videos about 75,000 black women missing. I don't know how true some of that is. I see videos too where a white van will pull up and just pick up some random girl and throw her in the back of the van. I mean, I don't know how real some of the shit I'm looking at is, but let's just say that's the truth. That in our country we have 75,000 black girls missing. If that's the case, if you're a father and you hear about a man trying to get into the bathroom stall your daughter's in, what the fuck you supposed to do? You see what I'm saying? Now, I've seen on social media recently when I looked up the stories, a little bit of backlash. Some people are baffled about why he killed the dude. Now, I don't know if he intended to kill him, but we can't have it both ways. When we hear about 75,000 women missing, that hurts us and everybody's outraged, and you want to march about it and you want to have social media outrage. Well, this black man took it into his own hands when he realized some shit like this could have been happening to his daughter, and he did what he had to do. You see what I'm saying? So I wanted to bring the story up because ultimately I completely agree with his actions. Ultimately, I think when we look at our children and when we look at how we are all under attack as a black family, like individually and together, sometimes you got to do this type of shit. Sometimes you have to show people that you'll go all the way for the people that you love. You feel me? So the brother is gonna have to do 8 years in jail for it, but I would do it. I would do the same thing. I think shit, it's worth it. We need more fathers in our community that are willing to show their presence, because that's what this represents a lot to me also, is him actually going up there and doing something. Just his presence, means a lot. So shout out to the brother Melvin Harris III. No, you got 8 years in a pen, brother, but we salute you. You feel me? Now, on to the topic for the day. So, we understand how important our children becoming young adults and doing something with their lives, right? I think as parents, that's all of our goal. Like when you envision your child being an adult, you envision them having their shit together, you envision them in some type of career or a business or just being okay, right? So here's the thing. looking at how expensive college is these days, up to like, $37,000 a year, depending on if you go into, to a private college or public college, depending on if you go in state or out of state. So it can get pretty expensive. So when we look at college, should we just be sending our kids to college nowadays? Is that the only way for a young man to excel in this society? You feel me? So this is something that we have to look at. Me having a son that's a senior right now myself, this is a lot of things that I think about. And what I want to speak about today to the family is just go over a few things we should consider before just sending our sons to a four-year university. Because look, we understand in our community, not only do a lot of us not have the funding, but we also have to realize and make sure we tell our children this. If you're black in society and you graduate from college, you are less likely to be able to use that degree compared to your white counterparts, compared to your Mexican counterparts to a degree. You see what I'm saying? So having a college degree doesn't guarantee success, doesn't guarantee finances, doesn't guarantee you will make the necessary amount of money to pay that damn loan back. You feel me? So today we're going to explore college. Is it pertinent? Is it something we should do? Let's talk about it. Now, this is what I think we should consider. And again, this information and a lot of the information I talk about can be used from any ethnicity, any race of person. If you're white, if you're black, if you're Asian, whatever. But I like to speak directly to my people. I think we need more situations where we're just speaking directly to our people, where we're just looking directly at our people. Like I don't think I can go out and help the world until I properly help my community. You feel me? So most of the stories that I talk about, most of the things that I write, based on the name Melanated Fathers, I'm sure based on how I present everything, we know it's for black folks, but let's always keep that in mind, right? Anybody can get the information or the game, but it's specifically for my people. So this is what you should be looking at, family. First, when our kids are young, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, this is the time where we should begin talking about real life shit. Now, I know they're young, they're a little flighty, their attention span ain't worth shit. I get all that. But still, when it comes to thinking about a career, thinking about a business, raising their intellect by having them read different things, this is where we should start the process, you see? Because if you wait till your kid is 13, 14, 15, 16 to begin talking about college, to begin talking about the real world and life after high school, I don't know what their mentality would be. I'm sure you can still do it that way, but as black folks, we need to get into the habit of preparing our kids the right way. These are things that I've been able to do right to a degree, but I've been able to fail miserably at as well. So I know firsthand the importance of preparing your children at an early age, right? So this is what you should ask yourself. If you get to so of course you should prepare them before they become teenagers, just for life and for life as a black man, for the possibility of different type of careers. What are they passionate about? What do they enjoy doing? These are all things you should explore, right? But let's say they get to the point where they're 16, 17, 18 years old. This is what you should be asking yourself, family, when it comes to, am I just going to fork out the money for a 4-year college or not, right? Is your teenager a self-starter? Like, we need to be completely honest about the type of young person we're raising. We are around these kids a lot. We go through a lot of different situations with them. We see them in a lot of different scenarios. So we need to be honest about who they are. So you need to ask yourself, is he a self-starter? How does he perform in school right now? Like throughout the 4 years, how much did he take to the testing, to the learning part of it? How encouraged was he? How motivated was he, right? On a scale from 1 to 10, how do you rate his level of responsibility? Excuse me. These are all questions you should be asking yourself about your son, and if the answers are unfavorable to any degree, excuse me, other options should be considered. You feel me? So again, college can be as expensive as like $30-something thousand a year, depending on the college that you select. So if you have a son who struggled for whatever reason, it could be your fault, it can be him not being engaged, whatever the reason is, if he struggled all throughout high school and he's in a situation where he's barely going to graduate or something like that, maybe thinking about sending him to a 4-year university, maybe that goal may be a little bit too lofty. Maybe you guys should consider something else. And that's not to say he's a failure or that is accepting failure, but everybody ain't the same. Everybody isn't the same. College isn't for everybody. That's something that we really have to drill home. But again, graduating from college and not doing shit with your life shouldn't be acceptable either. But a 4-year university just ain't for everybody. So that's the first thing you do is consider the type of young man you have. Now, let's say your young man is excelling, 3-point something grade average, possibly may get a few scholarships academically, likes school a lot, you feel me? A good head on his shoulders, enjoys the work, doesn't test poorly, right? So what if that's your kid's situation? Then that's cool, and maybe college is right up his alley or her alley. But here's the thing. Then you have to look at the realistic career choice. Like, what will your child be majoring in, right? Because we understand that a college degree doesn't guarantee the type of employment that you may need to survive out here in society. So if he gets a goddamn degree in fine arts or a degree in business administration, I mean, some of these degrees may not warrant the actual money that you would need to even pay the damn loan back. So that's a conversation in itself. Like, that's why I said we should start earlier, so we can begin formulating interests. We can begin formulating what they may be passionate about. You feel me? Because again, that makes no sense at all to put yourself in a financial strenuous position where your kid is going to school, they 2 years in college, you paying for it, everybody breaking their back to pay for it, and they switching majors, not know what they want to do, taking semesters off, all kind of shit. You see what I'm saying? So if you get into a situation where your kid is great in school, great with everything, but doesn't know what they want to do, and when we talk about them being a doctor or a lawyer or maybe an accountant or any profession that we know for sure a college degree is necessary and it will be beneficial by having that degree, if they're not going clear cut into a field like that, then even maybe this kid that's bright, you may need to consider a different route. You may need to look deep into what they're passionate about and chase that. You feel me? So that's the second thing. Now, also, I would say, like I was alluding to a little bit earlier, when it comes to career choice, when it comes to just really finding your passion in life, finding what you want to be, what you want to do, I'm a strong proponent of knowledge, right? So I think, specifically my black parents and my black children, I think it's really pertinent that we teach our children about history. I think it's really important that we start really young trying to drill home the necessity for knowledge itself. And this can be by allowing them to read things about history. This can be you teaching them about history, you teaching them about our situation in this country and how we've came to be, the different things we've had to deal with in the name of white supremacy, in the name of disadvantage, in the name of racism. You feel me? So in my opinion, if you equip a young person with the proper knowledge, you're not going to teach your kid to hate anybody, because that would be counterproductive, but we are going to teach them to love ourselves. And I think through history and the understanding of how things has transpired, that's a really great way to teach your kid to love themselves. So I think if we put them on that path, the career they choose will be second nature. Like, the career they choose won't matter, because they'll be operating on such a high frequency that they're going to be successful anyways. They're going to be happy anyways, right? Because I don't want to be off-putting when I say success, because success is relative, right? Success is kind of what you think it is. It isn't based on anyone else's perception of what you should or shouldn't be. It should really be based on who you are and what goals you set for yourself. So that's all we want for our kids, for them to be successful in their own eyes and be happy and not working a fucking job that they hate. You know what I'm saying? I've come to realize that in life, like getting up every day, going somewhere where you don't like, I don't know if there's anything worse, family. Fuck the money. Like the stress that comes with it, the how heavy it weigh on your psyche, how heavy it weigh on your soul. Fuck that. We all should be doing something we love, at least in our leisure time. You feel me? Finding something that we love to do. So that's a big thing, man. We gotta teach them knowledge of self. We gotta teach them about who they are. We gotta embed these different things in them. So when it comes time to choose a career path or a business idea or anything, they'll be sharp. You feel me? Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on when it comes to should we not or should we send our kids to four-year universities or college at all, right? I think also, because like I just spoke about, you have a kid that's successful, who's really good at school, but doesn't know what he want to do. On the other hand, you have a kid that may not be that good in school. Maybe he still wants to go to college. He still has aspirations of doing something after high school, but maybe his test scores aren't that good. Maybe he just don't like taking tests, because at the end of the day, school to a degree is a memory game. If you have a good memory, you'll get A's. It's kind of just how it works. What if that's their situation, right? Then maybe we need to look at alternatives, and a really good alternative, because I just mentioned earlier my boy Khalid White, who is a junior college professor. When I had the opportunity of having him on my platform, I interviewed him for the podcast maybe 2.5, 3 months ago. He made a great point. He mentioned how, because I'm in California, he mentioned how the junior colleges in California are so they've elevated their game. They've put themselves in a position where they really do a good job of preparing children who want to go to 4-year colleges. So a 2-year college or a junior college can be a great option, because not only will you save money, meaning you'll only just have to pay for 2 years of a 4-year university, but you can also use those 2 years as like a way to begin seeking out what it is you want to major in. It can also help you get comfortable in like the college environment without going, to a different state or a different city even. And sometimes in our society, I think when we look at a kid going to junior college right after college, we look at that as a failure, or someone who couldn't get into college or couldn't handle a 4-year university. I mean, fuck that. We can't really look at it that way. We have to be realistic about our kid and who we're raising, and that's a good, that's a good way to go about it. Alternative method is, going through junior college first. And also, I would say, just as far as cost is concerned, I want to make sure I add this in. If your kid is real smart, it pays to hone in on that. So, some kids who are academically excelling, they get scholarships to the point where they don't have to pay much for college at all. That's another alternative option to a degree. If you have a really bright child attempting to get every damn grant and scholarship that will be awarded to him based on that, that's a way to cut down cost. I think as parents, we can look more into making academics sexy for our children to a degree, because most of the black kids that I've been around, even me and some of my friends when we were younger, because we're so damn athletic, because we're so good at sports, sometimes we allow the pursuit of an athletic scholarship to kind of blind us, when in actuality, using scholastics, using school, you can get a scholarship to it. And if we do the numbers, I'm sure more kids get scholarships through scholastics than sports. So maybe we should start training our kids more in that direction. Because a kid will be young and they'll start speaking about this hoop dream or this football dream. And I don't want to crush nobody's dreams, but we need to be realistic with them and make sure they understand the percentage of people who actually make it to these leagues. Because even if you do make it, you still want something to fall back on. You still want a knowledge base that you can use to go out and start a business or go out and hustle some way that you would need to. You feel me? So getting away from just thinking about a scholarship through the lens of an athlete is something that we really got to hone in on with our kids. But so that's a point. Junior college, we should all begin looking at the junior college options, not from a failure standpoint, but from a strategic standpoint to a degree. You feel me? Junior college is a good idea. Also, we need to dig deep into what your kid's passion is. If your kid tells you they want to be a mechanic and own their own auto body shop, I mean, They may not have to go to college for that. There may be a trade school type of situation that would work if they want to go into construction, or if they want to be an electrician, or some of these other blue collar professions where you got to use your hands. A college degree isn't really required to do these things. You feel me? And there's nothing wrong with that, man. If your son wants to be an electrician, or he wants to do something where he's working with his hands, where he can start his own business real quick, ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We need to, when it comes to what our kids aspire to be, we need to do a better job of grounding them in honest professions almost, because I'm of the opinion that we should all be looking to try to start a business, a family business, do something where we can make money outside of this system legally. You feel me? I'm completely for that. But if a kid has to work for himself, there's nothing wrong with doing some type of work that requires your hands, where you can start your own business, where we can, like I said, we should start speaking to our kids early about these things. We can begin speaking to them about maybe some type of business like that when they're a kid. Not just so much driven on sports all the time. And you feel me? And this is taking into account that your kid hasn't fall victim to the street. You feel me? Because that's a whole nother show. If you got a kid who in high school or who is in school, and you see that the street life or that environment is more attractive to him than going the corporate way or going the square route, as niggas in the street would say. You feel me? So this is all something we need to think about, family. I just wanted to bring all this information to the family because I got sons, man, because I have boys. I want people who have kids as well, who have younger kids, who may have never thought about some of the things that I talk about, have never really dug deep into these perspectives on some of the issues that I bring up. And it's important, man, because when I was a young father, 22, 23 years old with 4 kids already, I didn't really have because I didn't have a father around, I didn't really have a blueprint of how I can do things. I didn't really have a blueprint of how to execute some of the things I knew were important. I just didn't really know how. So you go to different people and you try to ask, but I think we should have platforms. We should have places that our young men can go when you find yourself in a situation where you have a kid at an early age. Now you're attempting to raise them. They grow up so fast that sometimes you don't think about a lot of this shit. So I want to make sure that we're thinking about these things, that we're dissecting how we raise our kids, because if we don't protect the future generations, if we don't do what we can to make sure these kids are prosperous, make sure they have everything they need mentally to be successful, then we're going to be fucked. You feel me? So this has been another episode, man, of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm happy to be back. For all my supporters, man, everybody who follows my website, melanatedfathers.com, who have tuned into the website, who constantly read the articles that I write, I'm really, really happy that I have found something that I'm passionate about and something that I can do in it. It's a thankless job where I'm not worried about money or none of that. I'm just strictly focusing on different ways that I can help my community. And with that being said, keep in mind, next month, Black History Month, I'm having 3 events in the month of February. And I want all my family, if you are in the Sacramento area, all my family in the Sacramento area, I want to see all my family in the Sacramento area in the place 3 Saturdays in February. So February 15th will be the first Black History Month, the special Black History Month celebration that we are having. On February 15th, we're going to have a screening of the movie, the critically acclaimed documentary Hidden Colors. I'm not too sure if any of you are familiar with it, but it's a really great documentary about the history of Black people from the beginning, and it goes over a lot of different historical references that you can then yourself check and research, so it can begin you on a path of figuring out more things. So it's a really great documentary about history. Now, understanding Black History Month, to me, for the most part, has been some bullshit throughout history. When I was a kid, they would talk about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X. Well, not Malcolm X as much, but, you know, the same 5 or 6 figures they're bringing to our attention, when there's several thousands of courageous black men and women, melanated men and women throughout history who have done things to help us, who have done things to push our culture forward. So Hidden Colors is a great springboard for a lot of this information. So at the movie, we'll have popcorn, we'll have refreshments. So anybody, because I know sometimes when we do things like this, I'll get my brothers and sisters who are quote unquote conscious already, who have an understanding of a lot of this knowledge. They just like to hear it and like to see it and like to be in the environment. Of course, I want them in the building, but I want people who've never watched a movie, people who are Christians, you feel me? People who don't consider themselves conscious, people who may not look at the black struggle the same way that I do. I want everybody to come so we can build and learn together, you feel me? So February 15th, which is a Saturday, that movie will start at 4 p.m. February 15th, Hidden Colors 1 will be viewed at the funeral home that my family owns, Thompson Rose Chapel, 3601 5th Avenue, Sacramento, California, 95817. I'll be posting flyers about the events. I've already begun doing so. So that's February 15th. That's February 15th. Now, the next Saturday, February 22nd, really, really special day. I'm excited about that day because we'll be playing Hidden Colors 5, another remarkable history documentary. That documentary is based on warfare, different types of warfare that has been waged on the black community and solutions to help us get ourselves out of those situations. So it's a really, really riveting, critically acclaimed as well. Great documentary. I think everybody should come and see. Now, after the movie goes off, we are going to have a panel discussion where we will talk about realistic solutions for the black community going into 2020. We'll also speak about how we can combat warfare, all of the warfare that has been waged on our community. I've assembled a panel of brothers that I think will not only their knowledge base ranges in different areas of the black experience, so I think that'll be beneficial to everybody. They're really knowledgeable about the subjects that they're going to talk about. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have, a moderator there to kind of keep everything in play. But I think, man, look, I'm really, really, really excited about this panel discussion. These brothers is going to bring some heat. So all my people in the Sacramento area, come ask questions, man. Let's have a community conversation so we can discuss some of these things, not just no bullshit, right? Because I think sometimes just getting together to talk ain't always the most effective way. But how I see it also is everybody isn't privy to some of this knowledge. Everybody isn't aware of some of the historical references that we're going to be talking about. Some people aren't aware of, some of the things that we know. So I think it's important for people who wouldn't consider themselves conscious, just regular black folks, man, come down. You feel me? Be a part of the discussion so we can kind of get to a place where most of us are on the same page. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have a unity-based code of conduct, it's going to be really difficult for us to get out of the situation we in, y'all. So that's the 22nd of February. That's a Saturday as well. The movie's going to start at 2. Panel discussion is going to start at 5. So again, be on the lookout on my social media. I'm going to be posting a lot of flyers about that event. Now, last but not least, on the 29th, the last Saturday of the month, we are going to be showing a documentary entitled The Secrets to Financial Intelligence, The Secrets to Black Financial Intelligence. It's a documentary by my good brother, Dr. Boyce Watkins, who is like a financial guru in our community. Really, really good brother, really has a lot of knowledge about finances and college and different things like that. He was a college professor for several years, but decided to step out of academia to kind of focus on helping black people and helping our community. So really, I really admire Dr. Boyce. So we're going to show his documentary at 2, and then after the documentary goes off, we are going to have a financial workshop where we will have brothers and sisters in the building talking to the family about life insurance, talking to the family about 401k, talking to the family about buying your first home, credit restoration. We're trying to get someone to come talk about the stock market. somebody that's well versed in the stock market. So also, all my family members out there, if you know anybody that's well versed in the stock market, please have them hit me on social media. They can send me an email at melanatedfathers@gmail.com. To contact me if they have information about that. That's melanatedfathers@gmail.com. Melanated is MELANATED fathers.com. You can hit me there. So those are the 3 events that we'll be doing for Black History Month. I'm really, really, really excited about bringing some history to my family, because I consider you guys my family. I think that's a page that we all have to get on. Like, if you are a black man or woman, you're a melanated man, woman, child in this society, I consider you my brother, I consider you my sister, until you prove that you ain't that. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'm a firm believer that we really, really, really got to do this shit together. So when I see things going on with black people in society, my first inclination always is to think of it like they're in my family. So I'm around other people, I'm not speaking down on black folks. If I'm in certain situations, I'm trying my best to stay on code and practice what I preach. You feel me? Like we all should do. So 3 different events in February. Please come out if you can, man. So this has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. You can find the podcast everywhere podcasts are found. You can go to Apple Podcasts. You can go to YouTube, of course, Melanated Fathers TV. The podcast is always on the website, melanatedfathers.com. You can go to Spotify and find it there. Anchor FM. You can find it there. So everywhere podcast is found, you can check it out. Please follow me on social media. Follow the Melanated Fathers of America Instagram page, which is Melanin100. Follow me on Facebook, Melanated Fathers of America, or just Harrison Anderson, which either one you choose. I want to thank everybody who's been supporting me and riding with me through my evolution and the different things that I'm trying to do for our community. I really appreciate it, man. This has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm out.